You know, the franchise market in the Middle East and North Africa? It's an absolute gold rush. Seriously, one of the fastest growing on the entire planet. But here's the thing. It's also a graveyard for brands that show up unprepared. So the big question is, how do you grab that massive opportunity without becoming just another cautionary tale? Well, this playbook right here holds the secrets.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it. It's from the author Omar Alhaza'A, and it's the key to this whole thing. Speed without strategy is just expensive failure. Think about that. It's a powerful warning that in a place like the MENA region, which is incredibly complex and all about relationships, just being enthusiastic isn't enough. In fact, it can be downright dangerous.
And what does that expensive failure look like in the real world? Well, it looks like $3 million. That's what one really ambitious US brand paid to learn this lesson the hard way. They rolled out 12 locations across the GCC, thinking it'd be a quick win. But instead, they basically bought themselves a very, very expensive education in why you just can't ignore the local rules.
So what are these rules exactly? Well, probably the biggest mistake Western brands make is thinking the MENA region is just one giant single market. It's not. If you try to apply a standard Western playbook, you're pretty much guaranteed to fail, because the things that drive business there are just completely different.
This slide just nails that cultural gap. In the West, right, business moves fast. It's about contracts signed in boardrooms. But in the MENA region, it moves at the speed of trust. And that trust is usually built over many, many cups of coffee. You have to get this in your head. Relationships always come before revenue. Always.
So, to navigate a landscape this tricky, you need a guide who gets both worlds. Someone who can take the cold, hard logic of a Western P&L statement and translate it into the language of Middle Eastern business culture.
And that guide is Omar Alhaza'A. He is in this really unique position to bridge that gap. See, he was born and raised in the Middle East, but his professional career was shaped in global markets. So he can wear both the Eastern and the Western hat, and that's crucial. And his experience isn't just theoretical, it's deep and it's practical. We're talking about advising everyone from huge international brands to royal families. He's seen what works up close, but maybe more importantly, he's seen what fails. That makes his insights absolutely essential if you're serious about making it in the region.
Okay, so this brings us to what is probably the single biggest misunderstanding that trips up almost every Western brand. And that's this deep, deep divide between what a contract means versus what a connection means.
This is the question every single brand has to ask. And the answers? You're not going to find them in a legal document or some market research report. Nope. They're woven into the very culture of how business gets done.
Look at this. It perfectly shows the mindset shift you have to make. You might see a signed contract as the finish line, right? The deal is done. But in the MENA region, that same piece of paper is just the starting gun. The real deal is the trust you've built. The paper just makes it official.
And this points to another huge trap, brand arrogance. Having a famous logo might get you in the door, sure, but it will not keep your business open. Real success comes from putting down local roots, not just from planting your flag and expecting people to show up.
Hey, look no further than this real-world example. You have Taco Bell, who assumed their global fame was enough. They failed to adapt, and they failed, period. Then you have Papa John's. They succeeded because they paired their brand with smart local changes and, crucially, the right partners. It's proof that in this market, humility scales a lot better than hype.
So beyond these cultural mistakes, what are the practical, on-the-ground errors that can absolutely doom a franchise? The playbook calls them the 5 franchise killers. These are the quiet mistakes that can poison a business from the inside out. And what's so important to realize is that failure usually isn't some big, dramatic event. It's more like a death by 1,000 cuts, just a series of small, totally avoidable mistakes made in those first 18 months. That's what makes this next list a must-know survival guide. And here they are. Now, each one of these looks like a smart shortcut, right? Granting rights early seems fast. Choosing a spot based on cheap rent feels frugal. But they're all traps. If you underestimate localization costs, your product just won't connect. If you ignore your franchisee's profitability, your partners fail. And guess what? So do you. These are the quiet reasons brands disappear.
To really understand just how devastating the wrong partner can be, let's zoom in on one of the biggest mistakes, getting seduced by what success looks like on the surface.
So the story goes, a franchisor met a potential partner for the massive Saudi Arabian market. And this guy, he looked the part. He was confident, seemed connected, and had all the flashy symbols of wealth. The franchisor was, needless to say, very impressed.
And so he decided to trust his gut. He just had a good feeling about this guy. He skipped all the due diligence, no financial checks, no looking into his operational experience, nothing. He signed a massive deal based on flash.
The result? An absolute disaster. We're talking years of legal fights, a trashed reputation, and the entire Saudi market, one of the biggest prizes in the region, gone, lost forever. All because a shiny watch looked more convincing than a balance sheet.
All right, so how do you avoid these nightmares and actually build something that lasts? Well, you have to shift your entire mindset. You have to stop thinking about short-term wins and start focusing on long-term value. You have to play the long game.
The antidote to all those franchise killers? It's right here, in these 6 principles. This is the real playbook for long-term success. It means treating your partners like they're co-founders, not just a source of revenue. It means figuring out how to adapt your brand without losing its soul. This is the foundation for any brand that doesn't just want to survive in the MENA market, but actually wants to thrive. When you boil it all down, it comes back to this one powerful idea. If your strategy is just to show up and collect franchise fees, you're honestly in the wrong part of the world. But if you come to connect, to build trust, and to invest in relationships first, you won't just build a business, you'll build an empire.